Good morning, class. Happy Monday. We'll start out by doing our daily attendance, please. So click on the check mark and fill out the form. We'll scroll down to this week. This is the week of 10/5 to 10/9. And we are on Monday. We're doing a Google Meet together. You're going to do your daily attendance form. There's a bell ringer. We're going to do some practice with graphing together during our Google Meet. And then you've got a homework assignment that will be due Tuesday, another short one. So here's our bell ringer. I'll show you the graphing practice worksheet in a moment. And then there's a short scientific inquiry mini homework for you guys to complete. So let's look at our graphing practice assignment. So it says, now that we've completed a lab all about graphing, we're going to practice our graphing skills with this activity. You're going to open with Cami, follow the directions, and then turn it in when we're done. So we're going to open with Cami. And we'll take a look, and we've got we're constructing graphs. So we're going to read through these directions. It says, when plotting data on a graph, you must decide which variable to place along the x-axis and which variable to place along the y-axis. Label the axes of your graph accordingly. So you're taking that label from your data table. Then you must decide on the scale of each axis, that is, how much each unit along the axis represents. Scales should be chosen to make graphs as large as possible within the limits of the paper and still include the largest item of the data. So you want to stretch out your data so you can actually see the graph and be able to analyze it. If the scale unit is too large, your graph will be cramped into a small area and will be hard to read and interpret. If the scale unit is too small, the graph will run off the paper. Scale units should also be selected for the ease of locating points on the graph. So usually multiples of 1, 2, 5, 10, those are going to be the easiest to work with. So you're going to use the information recorded in data table 1 to construct a line graph on the grid provided below. You should label each axis, mark an appropriate scale on each axis, plot the data, connect the points, and give your graph a title. So there's a lot of information here that we have to make sure we do. Now, labeling each axis, we have to know where to put temperature and where to put breathing rate. I want you to pause the video for a second and see if you can figure it out. So when we look at a data table, it's easy many times if it's set up like this, that usually whatever information is on the left is your x-axis and whatever's on the right is going to be on the y-axis. So that's where we're going to put this information. Temperature is going to go down here along the bottom, and then we have breathing rate is going to go along the y-axis. Then we have to go back up here and it says mark an appropriate scale. Temperature, the lowest number is 10, the highest is 27. So looking at these lines, there's not quite, I don't think there's quite 30 of the lines, so I don't know if we can go by ones, but I wonder if we can go by twos. So if we go by 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, we're using the majority of the graph and we're using even increments. So I think that would work out. So we can actually just, number it that way by twos. Breathing rate, our lowest number, let's see, looks like 15, and the highest number looks like 60. So I think this one's going to have to be more like by fives or by 10. So let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Looks like by fives would work. And then the next thing we have to do is plot the data. So you're going to put little data points. You can either use the shapes tool or the drawing tool, but you're going to put little dots and graph this data now that we have set up the axes. And then you want to connect the points. So you're going to, as carefully as you can, draw a straight line. And then we also have to give the graph a title. Many times you can take the title right from the data table, so I'm going to let you do that this time. Usually the format of a title should start out the effect of, and so I would name this data table the effect of temperature on the breathing rate of freshwater sunfish. That would be an even more descriptive title, so you know exactly what this graph is going to be showing you. All right, let's move on to our next graph. So it says use the information recorded in data table 2 to construct a bar graph this time on the grid provided below. Again, we have to label the axis, mark the scale, plot the data, darken the columns of the graph, and give it a title. So let's label our axes. This time it's turned on its side, but the months make the most sense to put along the bottom. So you're going to label not on the lines, but in the bar areas, because we're doing a bar graph. So label January through December all along the bottom. And then rainfall, our lowest number is 1, and our highest number looks like 28. So I think we're going to go by 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. We can label the side by 2s. So make sure you're labeling rainfall in milliliters on the side. You have to include your unit, and then also label the word month down here. Same thing with the graph up here. Make sure you're writing temperature with degrees Celsius under here, and then breathing rate per minute on the left-hand side. You'll lose points if you forget to label. And then they want us to, we marked scale, plot the data. So now you're going to fill in the bars, and that's easy. You can use a shapes tool and use a rectangle to do that, and pick a color so that they're colored in, and then giving the graph a title. This would be the average rainfall in Willamette Valley. And if we knew the year, you could even list the year, but that would be a good title for that. And then you're done with your graphing practice. You'll go back into Schoology, into Monday, and you're going to finish doing the scientific inquiry homework assignment. And then just so you know, as far as lab goes, I'm not starting a new lab. Today's a B day. So if you haven't completed all these labs yet, that's what you need to be working on in lab. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, you need to get a hold of me, email or remind, and I can help you out. Have a great day.